Any of you have seen Black Panther, this talk will have a real resonance meeting about hair. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. All right. So thank you for joining us today. My name is D'Angela Duff, and my talk is She's Always in My Hair, Jill Jones, the unheralded muse of Prince. Now, how many of you, before reading my abstract, actually knew who Jill Jones was just by reading her name? Oh, awesome! We got a couple. Now, how many would recognize her from her image to the right? She's the one to the right. That's Jill Jones in Purple Rain. This is a still from Purple Rain. Not very many of you. Only a handful. So, when Prince passed in 2016, there were dozens and dozens upon commemorative editions and special edition magazines. In all of these magazines, there's always an article about Prince's females, or Prince's proteges, or Prince's collaborators, and almost in every single one of them, Jill Jones was not listed. Now, this is People magazine. It's a pretty popular magazine, but this is a more respectable magazine, Time magazine. Jill Jones still not listed. This is a reputable music magazine, Billboard magazine. And I must say, this is one of the most exhaustive lists of Prince's ladies, but guess who's missing? Jill Jones. Now, this is Jill Jones in Graffiti Bridge. This picture has been misattributed in 2016 so many times to Ingrid Chavez, who was also in Graffiti Bridge. She's the woman with Prince on the right, but that's Jill Jones on the left. But this photo has been attributed to Ingrid Chavez many times in actual real publications. And I go, oh my God, really? Now, this isn't a recent thing since Prince passed. In 2007, Giant magazine had a list of Prince's leading ladies, and who's missing? Jill Jones. Now, the one publication that actually gets it right is Ebony, and you will find out why in a few minutes. Now, in 2016, Miles Marshall Lewis wrote an article called The Beautiful Ones, and he does list Jill Jones as being a key collaborator of Prince. However, the accompanying illustration that accompanies the article does not represent who? Jill Jones. Now, again, I gotta give Ebony credit. 1987, who's on the cover? Jill Jones, in between Vanity and Apollonia, where she belongs. So, Ebony, I love you. Now, Jill Jones was in Prince's camp for 8 years. She was there from 1982 until 1990. She was there almost as long as anyone except for Dr. Fink, who's on his knees in the photo. He was there a little bit longer than her in terms of the early years, but she was there longer than almost anyone except for Dr. Fink. Now, this talk is going to try to convince you why Jill Jones should be in Prince's narrative, and why Jill Jones is actually Prince's secret weapon. But before I do that, I want to tell you a little bit about Jill Jones herself. Now, she was born in Lebanon, Ohio in 1962. She is biracial. Her mom looks just like Jill in the middle, but that's Jill's mom in the middle, Winnie Martin. And that's her uncle next to her mom. His name is Earl Jones. He was actually Prince's hairdresser during the 80s, Uncle Earl. And then you can see Jill's mom again over to the right with Jill's grandmother and Aunt Rita. Now, Jill Jones' stepfather was Fuller Gordy, and Fuller Gordy is actually Berry Gordy's older brother, and Berry Gordy was the founder of Motown Records. So Jill Jones was surrounded by musical royalty before she met Prince, because at her house for barbecue and Christmas holidays, she was surrounded by Stevie Wonder, she was surrounded by Diana Ross, she was surrounded by Rick James, and Jill Jones' musical career began before Prince. Her career started with Tina Marie. Now, Tina Marie's manager was Jill Jones' mom in the beginning. And Tina Marie actually lived with Jill and her family and was essentially Tina's older sister for all intents and purposes. This is Jill and Tina in a couple of candid shots. Now, Jill Jones sung and co-wrote on 4 of Tina Marie's albums. In fact, Jill Jones sings on the classic Portuguese Love. So Jill Jones had a musical career before Prince. Not only did she sing background for Tina Marie, she sung background for Jean Carn. She was the cover girl for Ozone's Little Susie in '82. And she had a life after Prince as well. She's released 3 albums since leaving the Prince camp in 1990. She also did sung for other artists such as Ryuichi Sakamoto, You Do Me, and she basically toured with Chic, and she was on the 1996 tour, which was basically memorialized in the release of Live at the Budokan, which was eventually released in 1999 on CD and video. But she met Prince in 1980 on the Dirty Mind tour. And this is Prince during the Dirty Mind tour to understand what Prince was during the Dirty Mind tour. Because Tina Marie was opening for Prince on the Dirty Mind tour, and who was Tina's background singer? Jill Jones. So that is how Jill Jones met Prince, through Tina Marie. Now, after this tour, Prince was out in LA a lot, even though Prince's home is Minneapolis, but he was recording quite excessively at Sunset Sound. And by that time, Jill was also in LA because Motown had moved from Detroit to LA. So she actually started recording with Prince for 1999, which was released in 1982. She sung on the title track, she sung on AUTO-Matic, she sung on Free. She was the Lady Cab Driver. If you know anything about Lady Cab Driver, you understand where I'm coming from. But in addition to singing background on Prince's actual albums, she was the voice that held a frighteningly prolific number of Prince productions together. She sung backgrounds on Sheila E.'s record, on Manny Six's record, on Apollonia 6 record, on the Time albums, on the Maserati albums. Like, she helped Prince a lot. She was on the extended version of Kiss. She sung background vocals on the B-side of Pop Life, which is Hello. She sung backgrounds on the Manic Mondays, of the Bangles' Manic Monday, which is a song Prince wrote originally for Apollonia 6. Now, in 2017, Purple Rain Deluxe was released, and I don't know how many of you know about Prince and specifically this release, but there were several songs that were released from Prince's vault, unreleased songs around this period, where Jill actually sung background or co-wrote or whatever with Prince, and she is not listed anywhere in the credits. And she had to take to social media to prove that she was a part of his legacy. One of the songs that everyone was waiting for was Wonderful Ass, and she shows, well, that's my handwriting down at the bottom. I helped Prince, basically write the song. Now, Paisley Park Records was Prince's record label. It was a Warner Brothers subsidiary, and most people will tell you that Jill Jones's record, and she did eventually get a record from Prince, was the best, if not one of the best, was the best release from Paisley Park Records. In fact, this month, Wax Poetics just released its final print edition, and it's its second Prince devoted issue, so it's kind of fitting that they're ending their final print run with a Prince-only edition. There's an article in there by Michael Gonzalez called Pop Art, and in this article he basically says, 30 years later, the record Jill Jones remains the best album released bearing the Paisley Park label. So it took Prince 5 years to finish the Jill Jones record. 5 years. And if you know anything about Prince's work ethic, this is unheard of. He snaps his finger and he's done with a record project. So it took him 5 years to finish this album. And it was finally released in May of 1987. This is her eponymous release. Now, in the Michael Dean Prince podcast, Jill Jones was interviewed, and she basically said that the reason why she thinks it took Prince that long to finish her record was because he did not want to let her go. Because he realized that once she was out in the spotlight, that she would be taken away from him. Because she was really working for him, but there was also a deep friendship and deep love. Now, when most people think of Prince's key female collaborators, Usually the people who come to mind are Wendy and Lisa because they are featured in the blockbuster film Purple Rain. However, if you look closely at the album cover of Prince's 1999, it says Prince and the Revolution. And it's Revolution in backwards. That's the way it is. That's not like an error. That's the way it is on the album. So Prince and the Revolution did not begin with Purple Rain. It actually began with 1999. And if you look at the credits, it is Lisa and JJ. Now JJ was Jill Jones, but again, Prince wanted her to be mysterious. He didn't really want people to know who she was. But one thing that you'll notice is, yes, Wendy's listed on the song Free, but in terms of the main credits over to the right, Wendy's missing, but it's Lisa and JJ. Now, in the undersleeve for 1999, you can see that Jill is missing. Even though she was on tour for the Triple Threat Tour, which is Prince, Vanity, Six at a Time. She was singing behind the curtain for Vanity because Vanity was not Whitney Houston. So she was actually doing double duty on this tour. And she was in the videos for 1999. She was on Solid Gold. For any of you guys remember Solid Gold? So she was in Purple Rain, but Prince would not let her sing in Purple Rain because she had a song called Wednesday, but he pulled it from the film. And she's missing from Under the Cherry Moon, which is Prince's second narrative film. She's missing from Girls and Boys video when she was over in France when Under the Cherry Moon was actually being filmed. And she basically gave this record to Nelson George. And he actually writes about it. And Prince set this up so that Nelson George could meet Jill Jones. So when Jill Jones' record came out, Nelson George would have something positive to say about it. So Jill was in 1990's Graffiti Bridge, which is the third narrative film. But she was allowed to have a musical performance, but it is not her voice. She is singing to Alyssa Fiorillo's vocal tracks, not her own, which I thought was one of the biggest, travesties in the world. And you can see that she's very, very close. This is Prince's father, John L. Nelson, that Prince really loved her and that his family loved her. The iconic song, She's Always in My Hair by Prince, is about Jill Jones. The Beautiful Friend in Hello is Jill Jones. And so I just don't understand why Jill keeps being erased from Prince's narrative. Is it because she identified as African American? Is it because she does not fit the template of the dark, exotic beauty established with Vanity? I honestly don't know. But in my opinion, Jill Jones was Prince's secret weapon, and she should be recognized for it. Because if, in this note from Prince to Jill, he says, we can make history, and they did make history, but a lot of people don't know that they made history, only Prince. So, if we don't acknowledge Jill Jones,